cheer. Tip-top, Tottenham Hotspur. Raise your glasses and give them a cheer.
Hello, and welcome back, my Yiddos. Gosh, these are always difficult, never fun, and this one's actually going to be pretty short. I would imagine, I would assume, considering the way this game went, it was pretty boring, except for short periods of time. But we're going to discuss all of it. Obviously, not the way we wanted to feel, not the result we were looking for. But these things happen. I'll start by saying, just to remind everyone, you don't win the league in the first 2 months. You don't lose the league in the first 2 months. I mean, I guess they'd say you can lose it that quickly. But, 2 poor games in a row, 2 poor games in 1 week is a very difficult pill to swallow for someone like myself and other, Spurs content creators, podcasters, supporters, all of us. But it's hard to do this job, in these times of the season or whenever, Spurs aren't doing as well. But that's part of what we do. We want to discuss all of it. I've said on shows in the past that the wins are way more fun to talk about, obviously. The losses seem to bring more to talk about. This game was a loss at the very end. It was kind of a boring game. It wasn't much in it. But, not to sum it all up at once, let's get straight into it. So very simply, there's a few, huge points and headlines to this game. The main one, we'll start from the top, is the starting lineup. We all knew going into it, for 2 different reasons, injuries and suspensions, that we were going to be seeing a completely different team than we had seen all season. Sometimes it's nice, no one likes injuries, no one likes suspensions, but sometimes it's nice to bring new blood in to actually see how these other formations and other combinations, get on, how they work. But I don't think anyone wants to see half of the starting lineup because, when you count, it was 5 outfield players that are missing. So 5 outfield players replaced. And we're going to kind of discuss all of them. So just so everyone that came in, we had our starting 2 center backs change. So we had Dyer and Davies in, Romero out from suspension, Van de Ven out on injury. And so that's huge. That's just, just to kick it off with that, we'll kind of discuss that for a second. I think throughout the whole episode, it'll be re-mentioned, but that was the biggest difference maker, in my opinion. I think there were other things that we did wrong or that we didn't have much control over because of different aspects missing. But that center back pairing has been, for every game that we've scored in, that we've dominated, the center back pairing was, you can say, oh, we were on the front foot, or we had tons of possession, or we were in attacking play. But most of that was because whenever we were in a scare, that scare was, whenever there was a small fire, that small fire was put out immediately. And so without that, it's not even, it's obvious, but it's not even that one person was gone. So it's not just we're missing Van de Ven's speed. We're also missing Romero's strength, and then both of them together, they've formed a partnership. It hasn't been too long that they've played together, but they've formed a very special partnership. And that partnership has been super successful, obviously, first in the league for the last 3 months. And so to completely change that, it affects not just the back line and how the back line ends up lining up, how they do, a high line. A high line is very difficult to pull off. But then you have everyone in front of them that reacts from those things. So when you have a defense that works, that gets you out of trouble, that is quick, the ball gets sent over top, well, you're not going to beat Van de Ven, in a sprint. they did last week, and he pulled up, and it's one thing we'll discuss also is just, are all of these sprints going to get to Van de Ven's speed? I mean, relying on his speed every time, we see he's cramping up 1/3 of the way into the season. And when you start a cramp like that, it's going to be a while till he's back to normal, but it's almost like a weak spot. Like it could cramp up again pretty quickly. So that's scary. But just back to this match, we had Dyer and Davies, two players as Spurs fans. They've been at our team for a while. We can't, hate on them too hard, but not the top premier that we're looking for. Davies, number one, doesn't play center back for us. I know he plays center back for Wales, but he is specifically a left back, and I'm pretty sure he was, in the roster, in the locker room, he's a replacement for a left back. He's not a replacement for a center back. Now, personally, I'd rather have him over Højbjerg, as we did at the end of the Chelsea game, or, Royale, even, I don't know. But, and to talk about their performance to the game, I don't think Davies played horribly. I do think Dyer played horribly. We will touch on that as we go through the game. But it's just the change, the switch up that is so abrupt to the whole lineup. It's such an important position. It's two people, but it's such an important pairing. And so to have that change is critical. Moving on in the middle, we're missing Maddison through injury. We had Højbjerg basically come in and not play his position, but come into that center, that three center mids. And then that changes a lot. So now we have a different defense that's not as strong. And then we have a different center of the pitch. So our whole center from defense to middle is completely different because it's only one player coming in the middle. But with Højbjerg, it's a center defensive mid. So now we have three center defensive mids. I was maybe hoping for a Bentancur in my Decky double. I said it wasn't going to be him. I don't think he was ready for it. But when it comes to tactically, either him or Lo Celso, just to hold on to the ball more. And I will get to it later, but we will see, how our midfield kind of stood up. And it was like we had three center defensive midfielders, which is very close to what we did last season when we had five center defensive midfielders. We have Maddison now who's injured. But other than that, Lo Celso, who you can claim, but he's only just now coming back from injury. I think that's a place that we need to look for, a secondary player or someone to even just compete with Maddison for that position, to be a creator and to be a ball holder and to be a ball carrier and things like this. Even, I don't think it's like a like for like or something that we can do in this format, but even like in the future, Kulusevski coming in the middle. Definitely let me know what you guys think about Kulusevski. If we had someone on the right for him, if he came in the middle, would you like to see him at that center? Almost that 10 role. I'm gonna ask that to the Instagram. I'm writing that one down. Kulu in the middle? Question mark? All right, so we have Maddison out for injury, Kulusevski in, so that's 3 out of the 5 that are missing. And then to continue down the line, Richarlison has been out, as we're all learning, through a small long-term injury. He had the surgery, so he wasn't in the bench or anything. And we have Johnson coming in, which I think a lot of people would claim they would rather Johnson, in over Richarlison. To me, I think those are two different players. I think those are playing the same position, but completely different style. And so when they're in, you're basically structuring the team differently, even though it's the same place. So to me, that's not a like for like, and I think they just offer different things. But as you can see, this was, even if, again, maybe people tactically would want Johnson in, this was not a tactical decision, it was a forced decision. And then you look at Johnson, and he's coming off an injury. So he's not really supposed to be going 90 minutes or, able to go 90 minutes. we'll get on to everyone's playing in a second. Just to round this off, so that was the fourth person, and then the fifth on the left of our defense, Udogie out for suspension. As we all know, the 2 yellow cards, he should be back next game to my knowledge. And Emerson Royale comes in. Personally, I like Emerson Royale. I think he has proven himself, even though he hasn't had much game time this season. I think he's someone who can come in and play a position of a wing back. And so I'm not too upset with that. But you look at it and you have 3 different defenders out of the 4 defenders. It's just super difficult in a Premier League match. I mean, maybe in preseason, you're like, okay, they got on well. But in a Premier League match where every minute counts, every point counts, it's very difficult. So looking at our starting lineup, we have 10 changes, out of the 10 outfield players, we have 50%, we have 5 changes, and mostly to our back line. And it really, I personally think, obviously, I think we can all see it really affected us. Now, I don't think that's the whole root cause for what happened, in the last 5 minutes of the game, but let's get into it. So if you look at the game, it was early Saturday morning, even early in England, even earlier on the west coast of America for me. For us on the west coast, myself in Long Beach, Los Angeles area, 4:30 in the morning. Not the most exciting on Saturday morning, especially if maybe you work Friday night or if you party Friday night. I didn't do either. I went to bed at a respectful hour so I could get up and do my due diligence and wake all my neighbors. But no, I kept it quiet, and I woke up on time. The unfortunate part is when you're setting up your laptop to watch it, it might take a minute or two, and I got in at the 3rd minute, and I'm like listening to it on my phone, and while I'm setting it up on my laptop, and you see the big thing go across the screen, at least on the app that I use, Live Score. I will push for them to be a sponsor. I don't know if they do anything like that, but I love Live Score. I was thinking about it when I was setting up the podcast today, is that most of these websites that I go to for any information are horrible, including Sky Sports, even the top ESPN UK, horrible. But Live Score, probably one of the best apps for sports in general. They have every soccer league, even the Iraqi 3rd division, and they will tell you the starting lineup, like everything. Like it's really good. And then if you're watching it for Premier League, they also have audio commentary. And this includes all different sports. So that's my advertisement and my pitch towards Live Score. I'll hit you guys up soon. But yes, so I'm setting up my laptop. I got it on my phone on Live Score. And, the big chance goes across the phone. And I'm still like, what are you talking about, please? And I'm saying please for 2 reasons. Obviously, I hope we score. But obviously, also, I want to see the goal. I've said this on other episodes. I don't know if I get more mad from us getting scored on or me missing us scoring a goal. And I've claimed before that I get more mad for missing a goal. With how we've been doing this season, or like this week, I was just excited for a goal. And it proved a point. From last episode, I was talking about, I think a lot of the Spurs players are probably heated. Just livid from what happened, Monday at Chelsea, or at home against Chelsea, and want to get back to where we were, high flying. And so I missed the first 3 minutes. I missed the goal live, but we're up 1-0. I was like, all right, boom. I was exactly right. We want to get back to that high flying, that high pressure, that exciting football that it's not just exciting for fans. It's exciting for the players as well. Super exciting. So, 3 minutes in, boom, we're back to the way we want to be. I'll say when I was watching because I watch the highlights before I record, just to refresher. So the first 2 minutes, even before the goal, Sonny is chasing down the ball. Everyone's chasing down the ball, and it really showed that high pressure. And it really showed, in my opinion, that everyone did want to get back on the front foot. Everyone did want to, really do what they can to get back to where we were, to show the fans, to show other teams like, hey, it was a fluke against Chelsea. And it was some bullshit against Chelsea. And they did it, back on. But as we watched throughout the first half, I have like 0 notes for the first half, because literally after that moment in time, small sparks of possession, kind of just back and forth. I'm pretty sure we didn't have, I don't have the stats in front of me, I don't have my computer today, but we didn't have, I'm pretty sure we had less possession in the first half. Like slightly, it was, like 40 something to 50 something. But that's different from the whole rest of the season where it's like 70% possession. Now, you really have to look at those things that I was claiming, when we were talking about the starting lineup. No Maddison. I will say in other games, sometimes it's hard for Maddison to build, not hard, but it takes a moment for Maddison to build in the games. And then by the 20th minute, he's going. And really it's his pace that keep us firing, and the ball can get shot into him and he can take a second, people can move up, he can turn, people can get into space, he can lay a ball into space, he can then receive it back. All these things that I think Sarr can do it, I think Basuma can do it, I think Højbjerg can do it, but not every time. And so they might do it once and it's like, let's go, good job, But if you watch Basuma's passing throughout the whole match, it wasn't good. He's able to get stuck in, he's able to break up play, we like that. So can Sarr, so can Højbjerg. 3 people in the same place of the field doing one job leaves 2 people doing nothing. And I think that's what we saw, was just very lack of control. And then one thing that kind of scared me, this has nothing to do with the midfield, but back to the good old boys, Dyer and Davies. It killed me when I saw it because it made me so excited when I didn't see it for all the other games of the season. When the ball comes from the midfield back down and it goes towards the defense, and someone like Dyer, this was all last season and the season before and the season before. It really goes back to Mourinho ball. But when the ball gets to the midfield, then to the defender, one of the defenders points at the keeper. Oh, just play it back to the keeper. It's like, aren't we close enough? What's he going to do that you're not going to do? He's just going to punt it is all he can hope for. That's one of his 2 options. The other option is make a great pass. But if the people right in front of him are what looks like, even though they have time, desperately pointing at the keeper, well then, you're not going to be able, it blows my mind and scares me and upsets me. And that's when I look at someone like Dyer and I'm like, dog, get the fuck off the field. Pardon my French, but that's the point, is Dyer. And Dyer and Davies, and that's the way we played for 3+ seasons now. And it was so exciting to have someone like Romero who would get the ball and play it into someone's feet. We saw the passing numbers for Romero. It was the most in Tottenham history and most in Premier. It was breaking records as a center defender. And those passes are not going to the goalkeeper. That is a huge, huge lapse in our play when that is missing. So it's not just that Dyer's slow. It's not just that Dyer's out of position. We'll get to those things. But missing that ability and want. Because what it is, at least from my opinion as a player, is it's fear. Ever since I was growing up, they would tell you as a defender, do not pass through the middle. For the fear that someone's going to easily pick it up on a simple pass or a not well-placed pass and score on you like that with one-on-one defending. I get it. But when you have confidence in your passing and you have confidence in the people receiving it and you play a pass into feet and they're able to turn and create stuff, it now creates play like that. Now, if you want to go from that person who I said could pass it up, maybe it's a bad pass, maybe it's a good pass. Now that's one option. The other option is they pass it back. Well, if passing it back is their first option every time, it's just extremely limiting. So, we can burn through the first half. As I put in my notes, boring first half. After the goal, we had no control in the middle, as I'm saying. But again, part of that was just the middle wasn't even receiving the ball. Our midfield and our forwards were not receiving the ball at all. So first half, poor. Second half, we basically start the same. Very slow. And the thing is as we're playing slow, Wolves are building. And obviously we see what happens in the very end, but Wolves are building. And basically from like the beginning of the second half to about like the 60th, 70th minute, they're getting more and more chances. So it's very disheartening. It's you know, I mean, if you play soccer, if you just play FIFA, you know how it works. You know, someone just doesn't score randomly. I mean, maybe once in a while, but when they score or when they win a game, they're building and the other team is slowing, you know, and we saw this. So we were slow all first half and then it continued and they were building and building and building. So they're continuously building, getting closer and closer, better and better chances. And all of these chances is kind of what I was saying already. We're going to, you know, pick on this guy, but for obvious reason, Dyer out of position. Dyer super slow. I mean, like on both goals and then on almost all the chances you look and it's like Dyer, I don't know if it's maybe Poro's fault or whatever, but Dyer's playing right back. Like he's stepping to the ball outside of the box and there's a man in the box onside. So it's like, where is our center defense? And this is kind of the point that I was making. Dyer and Davies don't play this position often together. They haven't had game time. And in my opinion, they're not good enough. Now, we don't really have a choice, which is scary and hurts my heart. But it's going to be like this for a few weeks. We can hope they get it together. We can hope Ange, you know, puts the pressure on them. But yeah, I mean, it was very poor. And so they're building. Second half was almost the same. I mean, so like first half, there were 2 good minutes at the very beginning and then boring. Second half was basically boring until the very end. We can talk about what happened in the middle. 70th, so there's no chances until about the 70th minute. We have, Kulusevski down the right, plays really a perfect ball into Brennan Johnson. And it was almost so perfect that and then the way Brennan Johnson hit it looked so clean that I think everyone thought it was tucking in the back of the net. I mean, I was just, let's go, 2-2, like this is it. It's been boring, but we needed to close it out. Let's go. And somehow it missed. You know, I don't know, it's one of those things. I mean, there was a time period where Sonny was missing a lot, and you're just like, come on. And then there was a time period where Sonny was just making everything he hit, you know, he put his foot on. And I think most people thought that he put his foot on it, and it was going in. So I think Brennan Johnson will get, as he gets to play more, as he gets back into like full health, those things will be going in for him, and those chances will continue. But this one missed, and it was very disheartening because that was one of our only real chances, like throughout the whole game. You know, there were other minor opportunities even going forward, but that was a good chance. He's outside the box. I mean, he's about 30 yards out. But if you can slide it over the keeper, like keeper's off his line. You know, yeah, you got to bend it into like the other side netting, but that's all you got to do. Just do it for me, please. So then before that, so that was about the 70th minute. Before that, 63rd minute, Bentancur comes on. Papa Mate Sarr comes off. Bentancur, even though he is more creative and can, you know, stay on the ball a little bit more, he's still very defensive in my opinion. He's like a Højbjerg 2.0. Like he's like a Højbjerg that can go forward. So it's like we still don't have that certain control, you know, but you did see chances like that one with Brennan Johnson start to kind of show themselves, and so we had a little bit more control. But I think it's obvious. I think it's shown, but Bentancur is still recovering from a very long injury. Like, I mean, for him to be able to push it 24/7 or like, you know, every moment, even if it's not 90 minutes, but every moment he's on the field is going to be difficult. And so, you know, so 70th minute in, we get that opportunity. 75th minute, and does make the decision to go a bit more attacking. Johnson comes off, not able to do the 90 minutes, which we kind of understand. Brian Gill or Hill, whatever, goes in. And that's basically a like for like, but Brian Hill coming off an injury, hasn't played like really at all this season, to my knowledge at all. I could be wrong, but I'm not, just from the injury, I'm kind of trying to remember, but I don't know if he's really seen minutes. Maybe he's seen a few minutes. But he comes on. That's pretty much a like for like, but he's not seasoned in this league and in this team, even though he's been on our rosters for like 2 years now. Whatever. He comes in like for like, at least positionally. And at the same time, Lo Celso comes in for Basuma. So now we really do have someone that's supposed to be able to put a foot on the ball, hold the ball, pass the ball, things like this. So Lo Celso comes in for Basuma, which I thought was a good sub. Lo Celso has not played this season. And we've needed, like, if he can be the player to compete with Madison, I'm fine with that. But same old thing is he's coming off an injury. So it's difficult for him to be just ready to do everything. But then I know he's done great for Argentina, and then on his loan spells he's done great. But he's always been here and there for Spurs. You know, it's like he has so much potential and can do so much, but it's every once in a while. You know, you don't really know when or where or how he's going to do it. So Lo Celso, it's like I like the idea, but it's not a player that's coming in and you're like, perfect. You know, he's going to do it. Now he almost did it. He almost did it. And that was one of the best parts, is he almost did it. Oh, you know, so that's 75th minute. Keep going forward. 87th minute. So 17 minutes later, we're getting some chances. There were some chances again. But at the same time, there are more chances for Wolves at this point too. It's going back and forth. We're getting chances. Wolves are getting chances. Wolves have been building all game. We just started building. And our chances are more one-offs. A bit lucky, a bit unplanned. And just kind of like Kulusevski gets a break. Oh my God, please, please, please. And then like we get a chance. And then that includes Gio's chance because the ball comes in from the right. I mean, beautiful opportunity, beautiful run down the line, and then beautiful choices from Kulusevski. The way he pulls the ball back, the way he could have shot 2 or 3 times in my opinion, but he still made a good decision. And he still played a great ball. And he plays it to Gio. And I mean, that was going upper 90. That was a great shot, one time. When the ball comes at you, it's very hard to hit the ball and keep it down or keep it on target. Very difficult. Ball's coming at him, he hits it. Beautiful strike. We all think it's going in. Keeper saves it. The very unfortunate thing from that is not just that we missed, but that basically directly after that, they take it down. It wasn't the next play, but it's like, replays are still going on. Everyone's still kind of like, and it's 1-0 at this point still. So everyone's just kind of like, especially Spurs fans, but I'm guessing, Wolves are freaking out too. Like they still have a chance, but we're freaking out like, come on, like we're not playing good. These are our one chances. And when you have chances like that, you think like, okay, we still got this. This is still our game. Like we can still be on the front foot. And then, like a minute and a half later, they come down, a sub who had just been subbed on, probably hadn't really even touched the ball yet. I mean, that goal, you cannot take anything from him. You can't. And I hate to say it, but it was a world-class goal. Absolute world-class goal. Yeah, so absolute world-class goal from a substitute. He comes on with full energy, and our boys have been slipping all game. Also, if you watch that goal closely, you'll notice exactly what I said. Eric Dyer is outside of the box. I mean, I don't know, like where was Pedro Porro? I mean, I guess someone should have been stepping. Maybe Dyer shouldn't have been stepping. I don't know. But Dyer was outside of the box, pressuring the man who sent the ball in. And the guy, I mean, that first touch was incredible. and then to shoot it and keep it down, all these things. I mean, when he got that first touch, he was able to take 3 steps before he even shot. As a professional, that's enough time to line yourself up. So I'm not saying it was easy. I'm saying it was incredible. And he did it, and it was... and then, so the worst part about a world-class goal like that is that puts so much belief into your team and the whole stadium. I mean, they're not going for a tie anymore. You know, they're not going for 1 goal. They're going for a win. And then it deflates Spurs, you know, wholeheartedly, which is pretty... I mean, we've been doing so well up until this week or last week, and we've had adversity and we've scored late, but, you know, this team with Ange is going to have to build more and more adversity and the ability to thrive in difficult situations. Now, when you look at our bench, when you look at our injury list, our players out, you really see that it's going to be, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult because we don't have a big bench. I mean, like, we're cutting in to where we are in the 90th minute to say this other point real fast. At the beginning of the season, when we had the kind of original starting 11, and then we had, you know, certain players on the bench, Johnson, Gill, other, you know, good players. I can't think right now. My brain's not working, doing too much at once. But, you know, Højbjerg on the bench, things like this. Even Dyer on the bench was like, this is better than any time in the last 2 seasons, because usually it'd be Dyer on the field and then there's like no center. I mean, it's Sanchez or, you know. So at the beginning of the season, our team, I had said it was the best team I had seen us be able to put out, as in 23, 25 men in a long time. But even though we did so good, first 3 months, amazing. Again, it's not over. I ain't too upset. I mean, I'm very upset, but not throwing in the towel anytime soon. But Ange said at the beginning of the season that it's going to take a few windows for this to really be the team that he's looking for, to really be the team that, you know, he's trying to put together. And at that point, I was like, yeah, but we're good. And I mean, he said later in the season, he's like, but what if we were playing in Europe? What if we were playing in different cups? I mean, these injuries would have happened a month and a half ago. We wouldn't have been top of the league probably at any point. And so it will take time. Now, I think we are building in the right direction. I think there's a lot of players that, you know, you got to commend them for being here for so long and for really being a Spurs player, a Tottenham player, like Davies, you know, even like Højbjerg and stuff like that. But they're not Ange's players. And you look at the players Ange brought in. Van de Ven, Johnson, Madison, they go straight in the starting lineup. Vicario, they go straight in the starting lineup and they instantly make a difference. You know, in about 2 or 3 windows, you know, a summer window at least, we'll be able to get more of Ange's players in. Now, we can't say every player is going to just be amazing, but, you know, he's working with a good team, a bad team, and the team he's putting in. And he's just like mixing them together and doing what he can. Now, he put the good team with the people he got. All right, we're good. But now he's got a bad team, or like the mixture, and a lot of the people are falling off of injury. It's now the mixture is getting, you know, less and less, thinner and thinner. So it's going to take a little while for that team to actually be, I mean, you look at Liverpool, obviously Man City, that's not fair. But players come in and they know with this team, that's what scared me a lot, is that Dyer and Davies, as I mentioned earlier in this episode, are pointing and doing things that they learned and got accustomed to under other coaches. Now, I'm very curious to see what happens after this, because, I mean, it was said in a few, you know, a few interviews of players and Ange and stuff like that, that during actually the Rio Ferdinand interview with Ange, he was talking about during preseason when we were playing Juventus, right? I believe it was Juventus, and we were up 1-0, it was almost halftime, and everyone starts jogging, laying back, not doing what he wants them to do, which is to be aggressive, be pressuring them, be on the front foot. And you see players that are from the old, even Højbjerg, like I feel like he kind of has, he's like, dude, my position is lost. So he's really, has to convert, to this new way. Players like Basuma converted instantly. They're in the starting lineup. But players like Dyer and Davies, who are just now getting on the pitch, they're converting back, reverting back to where their mind was at before. And that was always just play it back. That's safe. I am such a fan of Ange Postecoglou because the way he coaches them and talks about football is the way I play FIFA, the way I have played on teams forever, which is straightforward. Now, I get it. Leaves your back line open. Now, in this mixture team, it's very difficult to do all at once. But in the mindset of what he's going for, in the team that he's going for, it's what we want. But when you look at old players that have been in other teams, have been on this team for 6+ years, that are so accustomed to playing safe because they were yelled at aggressively by Jose Mourinho and probably Antonio Conte after that, and Nuno Santos fucking who knows what he was saying, but really just not telling them to go forward, not telling them to be comfortable with risk. If you're not comfortable at risk, you don't play dice. If you're comfortable at risk, you roll again. He's telling them roll again, but half the players on the field are saying, no, I'm gonna take my money, I'm gonna go. And you see that throughout this whole game. It was very, other than the first 5 minutes, they're like, oh, we're up 1-0. It was so slow. It was so bad. But for many reasons, as we discussed throughout, midfield lacking. And there will be other, positions that are just needed. Udogie is an amazing player that really helps us get the ball up the field, and other players. And so we'll kind of see, thank God we have a international break right now. It sucks for us fans because I just want us to do better and turn the tide and get back on the field and prove that we're not, that bad. But yeah, so 90th minute, brilliant goal, back to the timeline. This is part of the timeline I don't want to talk about. The worst part with all of this, for me personally on the West Coast, it was 4:30 when it started, so it had to be like going on 6 in the morning. I was super tired. The sun was not up. I'm watching this in my bedroom, I'm tired. I'm just as tired as everyone on the field. And the play was boring. Like, the game was not fun to watch. And you're just holding your breath that, like, you just can, number one, for me, stay awake. And then for them, just stay, keep Wolves out of the goal. And I'm, like, literally, like, one eye open trying to watch this game. And then Wolves score. Now I have two eyes open. And they're, like, red. And, like, I'm just like, oh, my God. Like, please finish. And, 96th minute, they score in the 90th minute, so obviously the ref got to add something. And then in the 96th minute, we talk about playing a high line. Truthfully, a high line is supposed to protect from runs like that. But when you have the defense just sheltering and running with them, that's not a line. If the ball's here and the defense is here, the line's supposed to be like closer to the ball. That's the high line. It's risky. We get it. But when you give them 5 yards of running room, there's no high line. And then, he just ran through the middle with impunity, with no one stepping to him. And yes, he ran directly in front of Eric Dyer. And the ball was, it was too easy. It was too easy. I felt everyone on the field was just as tired as me. And it went in, and I was like, all right, I'm going back to sleep. And that's why I couldn't record anything after. I probably wasn't going to record anything anyways because I was super tired. But it was just like, all right, TV off, lights off, I'm going back to sleep. I mean, and they blew the whistle 30 seconds after that. There was not a chance of us really doing anything after that. And I mean, for how demoralized everyone was, and that's the problem. But I mean, I love good starts. You know, we didn't get the manager curse after the first Manager of the Month award, not after the second Manager of the Month award, but this third one got us. And, you know, really, I'm not saying I'm fine with the loss. I'm not saying I'm fine with any of that, but it's one of those things where you do have to look at the long haul. If we want Ange to come and win the league in the first 3 months, he did it. You know, let's fire him. Let's give him a trophy. Let's give him a pat on the back. But that's not how it works. And if you want a real team, if you're a real Spurs fan, you want a coach like Sir Alex Ferguson, like Pochettino, who's going to stay for more than one season. Not a Jose Mourinho, not a put Band-Aids on every wound. No. You want someone who's going to start feeding you right so that you don't get easy wounds, someone who gives you a foundation. And unfortunately, foundations aren't built in 3 months. And so if we thought we had a strong foundation, no, we had the strong frame of what will be a strong foundation. So now we're at a time where we have to, I mean, we just, as fans, as viewers, as podcasters, as commentators, we get to see what Ange will do, what the players will do. So yes, it's, you know, a huge time of questioning for our players, for our coaches, and really, I think one of the most, you know, the thing that I want to keep the same is the energy from the fans. I think as fans, we know that what Ange is giving us, the foundation at the moment, and then, you know, what can come from that is what we've wanted for years. I mean, since Pochettino, but even like during Pochettino, we were hoping for something like this. You know, I think even at that time during Poch, the board wasn't giving him what he needed, so he wasn't able to play this aggressive style football with these half-rate players, you know, trying to go up against, you know, the top six, playing aggressive, but with players that should not be doing that, that cannot do that. So we've wanted this for a while. So the one thing that I want to keep the same is us fans keep this support and this love going, because I know it means the world to the players. And I mean, that's who we have to keep on our side. That's who we have to keep doing the things. And they are playing so well when they are able. And so we have to be able to remind them that they're able through our love for them, through our joy, through our songs. You know, our home field has to be a fortress at all times. Doesn't matter what Chelsea did. Doesn't matter what happened there. It doesn't matter. And then after that, our whole team has to be, you know, ready and willing to fight. It seems like we have fighters throughout the team, and we're going to see how it goes. But then, you know, right after, I mean, basically everyone's been gone to the new year, and so we'll really be able to see what is needed, what parts of the field are harshly lacking. And then January comes, and I think, you know, I think a lot of the things that get put out by the coaching staff and or the team is them not showing their hands to other teams and to fans and to pundits, because something came out and they said, well, we might not have any money this January, and we also might have spent all the money from Kane, which that's outlandish. You know, to think that you're going to make the most money you will ever make off a player and then not get any players from it doesn't make sense. So, I mean, we might see some young players step up. I mean, our young teams are really flying right now, so that's great. We want them to keep going. And we really do want to see some young players even just getting on the bench, getting in training. And I mean, shit, when we were at 1-0, I would have loved, this is all hindsight, I would have loved for Jamie Donnelly to come on and just get his debut, because, young players, they have that real fight in them. So that's hindsight now. That's just something I thought about after the game. Like, man, wouldn't it have been nice if he just came in and, like, who knows, But it would have been tough for him to take a harsh loss like that. But he did from the bench. But with that being said, again, this is a time after this we'll really get to see, there's 2 weeks till we get to see Spurs again. Ange has half those players, a lot of those players, during that time, especially the younger players that might need to step up, players like Ashley Phillips and stuff like that. And then, the other players will be out on international duty, training with other people, kind of getting loose, getting to shake off some of that, Tottenham woes from the last 7 days. And, hopefully when they come back, Ange will be able to remind them, the goals, the mindsets, the expectations that he has. And I mean, I don't know what it takes. And Ange is, I think, pretty closed door about what happens, inside the locker room. He might tell you afterwards, but he's not going to kind of tell you beforehand or air out his dirty laundry. So we don't really know. Is he going to, put the iron to their back, and scold them? Or is he going to, put the arm around them? Who knows? I have no idea. We'll figure it out. But I am very excited to see what happens. Now the game's coming up. It's a difficult run that we have. All good teams. This isn't in the right order. Maybe it is. But Aston Villa, Newcastle, Man City, all teams that we need to take points from, and it's not the best time to have half your team out. Luckily, Romero and Udogie will come back. So that's 3 out of 4 of our defense will be back to normal. And I have a lot of confidence in Romero and what he will do in the leadership role, whether Dyer's next to him or not. He'll be barking and telling whoever's next to him what to do. But, so that's exciting. They'll be back soon enough. I don't know, maybe Romero's suspension's a bit longer. Either way, I want to say thank you guys if you made it this far for listening. Obviously not the best week for us Spurs, but we kick on. We have international games for the next 2 weeks. I'm going to post this as soon as possible, hopefully later today. And then I'm not doing a preview for the next match because we got a lot of time, but my goal is to be up here next week and do a short little preview, kind of discuss everything that's going on, see what happened during international break, hopefully no injuries, and then, look at the match ahead. But as for right now, it's been up and down. Last little gripe, little rant I want to give out there. You hear, I've been seeing all these memes like, oh, Spurs fans thought they won it, in the first 2 weeks, the first 2 months. To my knowledge, and I've run a Spurs podcast, a Spurs, Instagram, and a huge Spurs fan, I wasn't saying that. And I actually think most Spurs fans, in my Instagram, we hear from Spurs fans worldwide, have been very level-headed. I haven't seen anyone like, oh my God, Ange is the truth, we're going to win the league. Even though, it is a big congratulations, I haven't said it yet, but even though congratulations on a 3rd Manager of the Month award, breaking his own record, even though all that, I've seen most Spurs fans being level-headed. And that's good because this seems like a relationship that we want to keep. We don't care to ruin it in the first 2 weeks or the first 2 dates. So guys, keep your head on your shoulders, stay proud, stay excited. This is our team and we're gonna get behind them, So, really, again, if you made it this far, thank you guys. But last but not least, come on, you Spurs.
Tip-top Tottenham Hotspurs, the greatest team of the year. Tip-top Tottenham Hotspurs, raise your glasses and give them a cheer.